Call a work session for the November 15th board meeting to order. First thing on the agenda will be the pledge, led by board member Tammy Sharp tonight.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Anybody have any questions on the consent agenda tonight? Okay. Move right along here. We'll do spotlight on education tonight, so we'll do number 8, textbook selection.
Okay, textbook selecting committees. You will find on tab 2 the names of these individuals. Names and qualifications of the following individuals are submitted for appointment to the 2018-19 Social Studies Instructional Materials Committee and the World Language Instructional Materials Committee upon board approval. The appropriate forms are included with the document, which includes parents and experts to serve on each of the respected committee.
Mr. Chairman, and this may be a question for our director, and I notice Mr. Zago's not here tonight. Of course, the committee reviews these textbooks. Do we have a timeline of when the actual final selections are going to be presented to us as a board for approval of those textbooks?
I'd say normally it occurs in early in the spring.
Okay.
And, yeah,
so we're at least a few months away.
Mm-hmm. We'll get that information to you, though.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, facilities.
Facilities, professional electrical engineering service proposal for LED lighting upgrade, RFQ. Mr. Clardy requested proposal from Oliver, Little, and Gibson Engineering Incorporated for electrical services to help prepare requests for qualifications and find qualified candidates for the LED lighting upgrades at all Rutherford County schools and sports fields. OLG will help develop the request for qualifications for distribution by the Rutherford County Purchasing Department and evaluate each of the RFQ responses and take part in interviewing the RFQ finalists to help make a final selection for recommendation to the board. This cost for this proposal for engineering services is $10,800. This is a professional service. It's my understanding the last time that we went out for an RFP during the procurement process, we've got a wide range of bids in, and they were all over the board. So the process is, as we're looking at this, as we're trying to go to our LED, I'm not certain that we'll go, even when we get this, we will go with all at the same time, obviously for funding issues, but perhaps maybe phasing it in over time.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Question. I know that we've gone through some LED lighting installation at sports fields and things before, and when I first saw this, the first question that came to my mind is, why do we really need to pay first of all, why do we need to pay $10,000 to a consultant to find basically a provider when we've been, I would like to think that we've got enough skills and expertise in-house in Mr. Lee's department and elsewhere that would be something that we wouldn't have to pay so much money to a consultant for.
Well, I asked that same question, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Lee because he and Mr. Sandvig were here the last time we went out for bid for this. And Mr. Lee, you want to add to anything that I may have said?
Time, but I do remember the situation. Mr. Sandvik was more involved than I was. But the problem last time was we had different scopes. In other words, it was not defined very well. So you had, for lack of a better term, you had some bidding one product, some bidding other products, and some bidding during the day and some at night. So it was very difficult to determine what was qualified and what was not. And we actually had some people that wrote letters and lodged complaints against them. Having someone develop an RFQ for us is kind of a legal thing. It would help us define the scope better so that we could, when it comes time to bid it out, we can do that in-house if that's what the board so chooses. And we could handle the bid process with the purchasing department, and we could actually manage the job. Before, we were kind of hiring someone to manage it, oversee it, and do all of those kind of things. And this RFQ process is just narrow it down.
So what all does the scope of what they're providing then? It says that they develop the RFQ, but then are they actually, for that money that they're charging, is there going to be an ongoing involvement from them in the process, or?
Based on what I've read here, and I have not talked to Mr. Clardy, based on what I read here, they will develop the process to ask for companies to come in and submit their qualifications, and then they would actually be in on the interview process to determine who is qualified and who is not. And at that time, those qualified bidders would be allowed to bid the project.
Mr. Director, correct me if I'm wrong, but of course we already had one set of these lights put in at Siegel, and if memory serves correctly, it was close to $200,000. And you mentioned that we don't even know, how soon we would do it or what process. So I guess there's a question in my mind too: is this not premature to spend this money at this juncture if we don't even really have a clue at this point whether the county commission would even consider funding this?
I think if we staged it, I think they would fund it because we're going to recoup, we're going to recoup the investment over a period of time. Now, obviously, the sports fields are not going. It's going to take you longer to recoup those. We would start internally in the schools themselves. And we discussed this briefly the other day. It would probably be in a larger high school to start out with, or high schools to start out with. And going back to that's where we're really, other than HVAC, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that's where we're last part where we can recoup some savings. Is that correct?
LED lighting at this point, we have a T85, which is what we upgraded to.
8 years ago.
It's been 8 to 10 years ago when we did that upgrade. This is like a 4-year payback, which is pretty significant.
That's the next question.
Yeah, it's not a 4-year payback, which is really, it's that significant of a savings.
Mr. Sandy, can you give us, I know you mentioned this when we were discussing this currently on utilities, and what we've.
Our budget for electricity is about $9 million. And we have, through the energy conservation methods, basically we have covered the increases in utilities, the electric rates that we've been getting. If you look, and this is not looking at weather norm, which is kind of gets into engineering concepts. I like to look at dollars and kilowatt usage. We actually, and this, if I excluded, I think I went back to the year before Stewart's Creek High opened, we had a net drop of about 6% in kilowatt hours in that core group of schools. Overall, we'd had an increase because of the new facilities we'd added. Or we were right at the same, but we had an actual drop. Going back to our previous proposal and back to when we did the other light work, the scope, the number of people you have to bring on in order to do a project like this is unbelievable.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I think that is also one of the reasons to go out for with OLG and get a better idea. In some of our discussions, well, Could they handle it? Our comfort level that we would get the benefit of what we were paying for was not as high as we wanted it to be. The technology was newer. It's had a couple more years to get established. So I think with the size of the project we're looking at, I think it's pretty well spent, $10,800.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Y'all forgive me because I'm new and I just don't know if I have an appetite for this because this is not educating our children. This is sports related. And, it goes back to, I think the last one was over $200,000. And Laverne and Smyrna still, we've kicked that can down the road. I hate to beat a dead horse, y'all. But, surely we've got some parents or a booster club or something like that wants to participate in this or get some kind of advertising out of it.
Now, what we're discussing, Ms. Sharp, are the lights in the building. Not we would definitely start with the lights in our buildings, not athletic. Would be our first thing we would do. We would be doing.
So this is the building. It was talking about
this is
sports fields also.
Yeah, right. He threw that in there just so that we would have, that would be a long-range plan. Our first, I think we're in initial stages. We're just discussing this. Is that we would address the lights in our buildings, in our school buildings. That's where we'll get recoup more of our cost. Athletic fields. It would take you what was the range? 15 years or something?
Yeah, the money that we would be looking to get back, the savings is in the building. The sports fields are not used enough. We would eventually like to go to LED lighting because they are cheaper. But the scope of this is for all of our buildings, inside and out parking lots, and also get the definition of what we would need to do for the sports fields. But our initial scope would be inside the classroom first. That's where the money is. The sports fields lighting is not used enough for you to get that 4-year payback. It's a 7 or 8 year payback on your sports fields. It would be part of the overall project, but the project would initially be inside the building, classrooms first, wall packs, which is your exterior lights that are on the outside of the building, and the parking lot lights.
And also, because we haven't addressed any of these projects since the two of y'all came on the board, we look at you agree as a board on the other projects we've done to this point, that we will pay the interest and the principal out of our general purpose school funds. And we look at a payback period that is comparable to the average payback period of the project. So basically, once we get that project up and going, as our savings kick in, at the end of, say, if we did this over 4 years, and then also borrowed over 4 years, somewhere in that 4 to, say, 6 year time period, at the end of that period, we'd be saving on the utilities in that period. When we've paid off the debt service, then it's a net savings to our budget. And we have always looked at, okay, this package is somewhere 1.5 to 5 years. We'll finance it for 4 years so that we're not, as we're seeing some savings in our current utilities, it doesn't change our cash flow until the money's been paid back. And then we see the improvement in the cash flow. We've been very careful to keep them that way.
Any other questions? All right. Let's move on. Number 10.
All right, financial matters. General purpose school budget amendment, Fund 141, tab 4. Rutherford County Schools will receive $12,992 in other state grants revenue in order to pay a stipend to the teachers who participated in the state's portfolio peer review. And I think that in that tab, it kind of breaks it down, how it's paid. If I'm not mistaken, this has already been completed. This work has already been completed by these teachers.
Questions?
I'm just curious, I haven't looked at the details. It sounds like you're saying there might be an attachment that I haven't reviewed, but did it wind up being enough per teacher that we felt like it was, I mean, obviously some stipend is better than no stipend, but I'm just wondering if we felt comfortable that it was enough to truly
The state set
award
the
them.
amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think so. The state did come back. The initial round of money we got did not include any money for benefits. Right. They came in with some more money, so we were able to move that number up a bit.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad to see they did that.
Okay, insurance update.
Well, Dr. Anthony got a 3-hour introduction into, we had a 3-hour meeting comparing 2016-17 to 2017-18. Where our costs are, what are the conditions that cause them, catastrophic claims, you name it. We got into detail on catastrophic claims. And one of the things, and this is it's a planning meeting that Cigna does for us. Some of the things, they make some minor recommendations that we may take forward to the insurance committee if we think that the dollars are worth it. But one of the things that they did stress repeatedly, we have through our, yes, it's through our $30 a month upcharge if you don't participate in wellness, but we are over the norms for our employees participating in various wellness programs. And one of the things one of the goals, because like other people, I get frustrated having to do some of that stuff. I already went for my physical once a year, but we are finding serious health conditions as a result of this wellness routine. Diabetes, they find heart conditions on occasion, high blood pressure, items like that do, and when you look at our they break it down by age ranges and all. As you look at our older employees range, you see more people with more of these conditions, and if we can get them treated earlier, it saves the plan money. And there were quite a few indicators along in that 3 hours that we are seeing some positive effects from that. We went through pharmacy, we went through dental. We were kind of brain dead by dental, but yeah.
Good question. I've got one. Down here on the bottom chart, we've gone from, is that, in September, we were at $8 million surplus, right?
Let me bring up the file just a second.
And now it's about 11 or so.
I show that file just to, the flow of the money into the plan, to me, more goes September through August. So at the end of August, we did have a surplus. I kind of ended that period in this.
Picked it up.
And then this is one of the less, I debated even giving it out, one of the less informative months because you've only got those 2.
At least we're going up instead of down, right?
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may back up a quick question. So this underwriting review meeting, was it done just with you guys, just for the school system, or was it
No.
with the whole county?
There were people.
On behalf of everybody?
It tended to be, actually, I think you and I were the only voting members of the insurance committee, but Lisa Nolan, the county finance director, was there. Sonia Stevens,
HR.
county HR person. Miss Street staff, the county mayor and the deputy mayor came in for a while. but our book's 60 or so pages. Yeah. It's very detailed. Stop by my office if you'd like to look.
You wait. All right. Anything else? Okay, director's update.
All right, we had a great town hall meeting last night at Blackman High School. There wasn't as great of attendance, but we're going to be working on some of that on our next one that comes up on December the 10th. December the 10th at Siegel, correct? And a lot of great information. All the people here at the central office, the different entities provided great information, and there was some good dialogue there. Also, there was in our rezoning meeting that we previously had last week, I think there was a misinformation. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and fall on the sword. I could not hear real well. I don't know if any of y'all had the issues or anything like that, but there was a moment there where one of our commissioners got up and was speaking about the part of our budget being a certain percentage of their budget, and I inadvertently thought he was referencing percentage of our budget. Obviously, we know that 53% of our budget comes from the state, and then the rest comes from our local and our federal. And those numbers can be different. He was saying that 70% of our budget makes up their budget, and that would probably be correct as we look at that thing. And we do appreciate that. We've had great turnout, by the way, in our rezoning meetings with our commissioners. They're there to listen, and they're providing some support to us, I believe. And today, we had the opportunity today, Rutherford County is starting to be the first county that is going to be work ready. And we went down to the TCAT in Smyrna. Ms. Sharp was in attendance also, and the mayor and several other people there. And 44 students from Holloway had taken the work keys, which is part of another part that SAS has with ACT, and 44 of them, out of the 44, 2 scored the highest as platinum. There were 10 scored gold, and there was 32 that scored in the bronze, and that was a pretty good celebration for them, and that designated them as being work ready. And currently, the goal is to get to 100% of Rutherford County work ready, and with those individuals and a few more to come, we're already at 12%. So we're working our way to that 100%, and this is this is something that we should be proud of, that we're partnering with our post-secondary institutions, along with the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce and our business partners. So I appreciate being invited, and it was a great time.
That it?
That is it.
All right, Ms. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, if I do have an update, I'll reserve it for Thursday.
Okay. Mr. Hodge?
I'll have you something Thursday.
Thank you, sir. It's not on there.
What's that?
Board members' discussion.
Okay.
Ms. Michaels didn't want us talking tonight.
It is on there.
Anybody on the board got anything for discussion, or we'll wait till Thursday, either one? Yeah, okay. No more discussion, we'll be adjourned.